By the time you're finished listening to this Pepsi Zero Sugar, you'll be 15 seconds closer to kickoff. Stock up now. Bengals game day is so close, you can almost taste it. Bengals watching. Better with Pepsi.
I'm Carol from Sunbury, Ohio.
I'm a Republican, but I don't care who does the job as long as the job gets done. That's why I like Sherrod Brown. He stood up to both parties on China and worked with Republicans to fight fentanyl because Sherrod fights for Ohio. That's leadership.
Paid for by Friends of Sherrod Brown.
Hey, it's Austin James. If you're like me, trying to live your best life while living with diabetes, you can relate to worrying if you're doing a good job managing your diabetes. I use the Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor to get real-time glucose readings and see the impact of every meal and activity to make better decisions. The Freestyle Libre 3 Plus sensor can help me live life with diabetes on my own terms, and it gives me more time for the things I love, like being a dad and a musician. Now this is progress. Learn more at freestylelibre.us.
For prescription only. Safety info found at freestylelibre.us.
What's good, boys and girls? Two-Footed Extra on Friday, the 18th of October. Hope you're all well, having yourselves a pleasant evening. Right, into the news. Erik Ten Hag has spoken out against reports that he is under pressure at Manchester United and at risk of losing his job, and he has called them fairy tales and lies. This comes off the back of Jamie Redknapp saying that he felt Ten Hag was out of his depth, and then obviously the meetings that took place between United's board members to discuss his future. And he said, "We are on one page. The noise is only coming from some of you, creating stories and fairy tales and bringing lies. I know we are on one page at this club. I said this before the break. I told several journalists. Perhaps the journalists didn't believe me because I saw the reports, but internally it is quiet." The board members literally met for an entire day to decide whether or not to sack you. Like, that's literally what happened. They spent an entire day discussing it. And we're very open about telling the media that that's what was going on, because we had reports about what was discussed, the names that were brought up as possible replacements. We even know when they took lunch. So this man is living in a fantasy world. Now, he says he's certain he's going to succeed at United, and I don't know what he thinks success at United is, but as someone who grew up primarily in an era dominated by Manchester United under Alex Ferguson, let me tell you what counts as success at United. It's winning league titles and it's winning the European Cup. It's the same thing that counts as success at Liverpool. It's the same thing that counts as success at every major club with real ambition. Winning the title, winning the European Cup. Domestic cups are all well and good, but ultimately, if you manage one of the elite clubs, if you don't win a league title or a European Cup, you are a failure. At some clubs, like Bayern, but more pertinently at Real Madrid, you're a failure if you don't win the European Cup. At Bayern, it's because they expect to win the league. They don't aim to win it, they expect to win it. At Real, it's because they have put the European Cup out there as, this is what we do. We win this cup more than anyone else. We're the most dominant team in this tournament. At United, it's very much win the league or win the European Cup or be deemed a failure. And that's just how it is. And it's how it should be. Eddie Howe says he was not interviewed for the England job. FA Chief Executive Mark Bullingham has said they interviewed approximately 10 people, including some English candidates, before appointing German boss Thomas Tuchel. Howe, one of only 3 English managers currently in the Premier League, confirmed on Friday he was not among those spoken to. Well, to be fair, Eddie Howe said publicly not all that long ago that his intention was to stay in Newcastle, that he was not interested in the England job at this point. So this shouldn't be a surprise. Now, this article says it's very surprising, but it's not. It's not a surprise. Nuno says he is surprised that he has been given a 3-match touchline ban for his red card in Nottingham Forest draw against Brighton last month. Morgan Gibbs-White, who was also charged for his reaction to being dismissed, has been suspended for 1 game. He's been fined 20 grand. Nuno was fined 55 grand. Fabian Herzliya, the Brighton manager, was also sent off. He was given an £8,000 fine, but not given a touchline ban. This seems like it's very heavy-handed and very one-sided. Like, if it was a 1-game ban and the big fine, I could think that's fair enough. But it's a big fine and a big ban, while the other manager, who was also sent off, gets no ban and a small fine. To me, that just seems very one-sided. Now, obviously, there's details of what was said that we don't know. The Football Association said that Nuno acted in an improper manner and or used abusive and or insulting words towards a match official. They said the same thing about Gibbs-White, whereas Herzliya was just acting in an improper manner. So I feel like the improper manner thing should be one charge, and then the abusive or insulting words should be another charge. And they should carry, like, one of Herzliya's charge is the same as one of the charges against Nuno and Gibbs-White. He should get the same fine for that. So if you're telling me that 47,000 of the fine to Nuno is for the language, then I have to assume, and so is the 3-game ban. Again, that just seems very heavy-handed and one-sided. So, yeah, not in favour of that. There has been some movement on Man City's 115 charges in terms of the verdict deadline. This is from the Manchester Evening News. Now, again, this is questionable in terms of the legitimacy. This may well have come from City. I haven't seen this anywhere else. Man City are now reportedly set to discover their fate regarding alleged breaches of financial rules much earlier than previously anticipated. Since September, the Blues have been embroiled in a hearing with the independent Premier League panel over what was initially thought to be 115 breaches of historic financial rules. City were charged in February 2023 over their alleged actions between 2009 and 2015. Remember, the cheating didn't stop in 2018. That's when the investigation began. They began investigating in 2018. They investigated for 5 years and landed with 115 charges. After much confusion, it is now thought City have been accused of over 100 breaches of alleged financial wrongdoing. I'm not sure why they're making out that it's something different now to what it was. It's exactly the same thing. And again, this is likely coming directly from City. In the background, the club has also been involved in a lengthy legal battle with the Premier League over the associated party transaction regulations. That's the case that was recently voted on, where City tried to claim victory, but in truth hadn't really won at all, and the Premier League hadn't really won at all. Nobody really won. There were 2 of the charges that City had brought against the Premier League that were found in their favour. I think like 45 that were found in the Premier League's favour. So for City to claim victory was all very weird, but we saw how City pumped out the propaganda and the misinformation. The Premier League argument was that the APT, yada, yada, yada. Now, following the APT verdict, City could... Okay, so it's The Athletic who reported this. It's Sam Lee, who is well known, has been a mouthpiece for City. He's the one that reported this. I did see this, and I immediately dismissed it because every other outlet and all the talk around it has been that it will be 2025. Sam Lee said that they were expecting to hear before the end of this year, which nobody else has suggested. And City fans then took that and ran with it to say, oh, we're going to be exonerated, which is basically what City have done this entire time. They've leaked out to varying social media accounts, fan media platforms, and journalists that they expected full exoneration, that the charges were going to be dismissed, and all this kind of stuff at every single step. It's very North Korea of them to run such a propaganda claim. Let's see. And Postecoglou said, as you can see, I've not yet exploded, which is obviously very good. The man hasn't exploded yet. Back to City, Pep Guardiola says that a part of him will leave when Chiqui Begiristain leaves at the end of the season. He's set to be replaced by Hugo Viana, but of course it will depend on what City's status is at that point. Pep says, part of me is leaving, a friend of mine, an architect who created one of the best teams at Barcelona, and here, personally, he will be missed a lot. Some City fans have now taken this to mean Pep is definitely staying. I would take it to mean it's the end of their working relationship. They're not going to work together again. Chiqui's retiring. He's not leaving City to go and do something else. He's retiring. And Pep, when he leaves City, is unlikely to retire. Pep will go and take a job. He might take a year off, but then he will go and take a job somewhere else. And it will be without Begiristain. And then we'll see how that goes for him. He obviously went to Bayern without him. So, you know, he's had experience without his trusted sporting director. Gary O'Neill says, Wolves cannot continue to rely on excuses and the clock is ticking to find results. Sounds very much to me like Gary O'Neill might have had a conversation with his ownership over the break and been told things need to improve very, very quickly. Former Fulham ladies captain Ronnie Gibbons alleged she was groped on 2 occasions by the club's late owner, Mohammed Al Fayed. This is not good. This is not ideal at all. Al Fayed is, of course, long passed away. He owned the club up until 2000 and he's not long passed. He passed away last year, but he's long gone from the club, is what I should have said. He owned the club up until 2013, having bought it in 1997. In 2000, Fulham's women's team, known then as the Fulham Ladies, became the first female football team in Europe to turn professional. I can't read this story out. It's vomit-inducing. Last week, the Metropolitan Police said it had received 40 new allegations against Al Fayed. This follows a documentary by the BBC and a podcast containing testimony from former Harrods employees who made claims against him. He appears to have been an entirely repulsive human being. And I'm not going to read any more of that, but you should go and read this because this is important, and this is not something that can ever be allowed in any situation. Like, this is horrendous. Right. I think I'm going to have to take a break now. I'll be back with the gossip in a few minutes. Oh, Wayne Rooney was given a 1-game touchline ban as well. Back in a few minutes. Well, it'll be a minute for you. It'll be a few minutes for me.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, you know, to check you have the tickets in your wallet first before you drive 2 hours to the big game. Seriously, you had one job. Now the closest you'll get to the 50-yard line is parking lot D. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
It's Croctober, the official celebration of Crocs fans like you. So whether you like to rock your classic clogs, get cozy and fuss-lined, personalize with your favorite Jibbitz charms, or even, dress up like a clog for Halloween, it's time to tell your story and share your style. Join the Croctober celebration with Crocs fans around the world. Go to Crocs.com to discover the range of shoes and find a pair that's iconic like you. Crocs, celebrating you all month long.
When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the vehicle owner's manual for important feature limitations and information.
Right, welcome back. Let's get into the gossip then. And the first story here is from The Athletic, which is the same piece that I referenced that had the 115 charges being brought forward. Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola could sign an extension to his contract even if the club loses its legal battle. There is zero chance he's signing if they lose the legal battle. Unless they get to stay in the Premier League and don't get anything stripped, like he might just choose to stick with one for one season, but I don't see it. Ruben Amorim and Xabi Alonso top City's list to replace him if he decides to leave. I think that's just a lazy story where they've taken the two most highly thought of young managers. Expect to see Seb Holness's name linked in the next couple of weeks. Liverpool have accepted Trent Alexander-Arnold will not sign a new contract and are looking to negotiate a sale to Real Madrid in January. That is not true. That is a lie. Barcelona and Bayern Munich are also interested in Alexander-Arnold. Manchester City's pursuit of René Nouri has been boosted by the appointment of Hugo Viana. I have no idea why that would be in any way relevant, unless he shares an agent. Barcelona rejected a €250 million offer in the summer for Lamine Yamal from PSG, which is bizarre. That PSG would offer, not that Barca would reject. €250 million just for a 17-year-old of one season. I know he's special. I know he's genuinely very, very special, but this is just silly. Arsenal and Manchester City are among the admirers of Charles de Ketelaere. Arsenal already have Kai Havertz, who's basically the same player. Manchester United boss Erik Ten Hag is keen to sign Frankie de Jong. He's been keen to do that since he arrived at the club. I don't think they're going to give him any more money to spend. Benjamin Sesko is also of interest to Man United, who spent well over 100 million on two tall centre forwards who are young, raw, and not the finished product already. Bayer Leverkusen and Germany defender Jonathan Tah and Bayern Munich left back Alphonso Davies, as well as Jonathan David, have been tracked by Barcelona. They're all on free transfers next summer, and I think Alphonso Davies is almost certainly going to Real, but the other two wouldn't surprise me if they landed at Barca. Real have lined up Jeremy Frimpong as a target if they're not able to sign Alexander-Arnold. Cesare Caicedo has been advised by Italy under-21 manager to consider his Blues future in January. He's another one of those ridiculously talented midfielders they have at that club. It's just so funny how many they have, and none of them get an opportunity. New England boss Thomas Tuchel could make approaches for staff currently at his former club, Chelsea, with the German keen to assemble a new backroom team that he trusts. Okay. And Ryan Kent has had his contract terminated by Fenerbahce after falling out of favour with Jose Mourinho. Yeah, not surprising. Right, that's me. See you all Monday. Take care. Bye-bye.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.